It's really crazy. I feel like this show had every right to be horrible, and it prevailed through all of it and was a really good show to watch. I feel like it was from a lot of old school elements that might have been from the comic books to even a whole bunch of new school elements that we have nowadays, but still having that balance and still being Spider-Man. From the drama that we would have from other characters to other characters getting more focused on in this drama-esque aspect of things, then you would always get that classic but beautiful thing whenever it came to Spider-Man. Him getting that advice slash motivation that feels like it also motivates you at sometimes, where he has that one undying human hope. Then he has the advice that he will always get as Spider-Man or help as Spider-Man, and he just grows as a person. Then you have when he's Peter Parker and he always gets advice from his aunt or anyone else in his life that's his friend, but they don't understand his situation, but they're always there to empathize and be there for him. Like, comment, subscribe, it helps. And it's such a fun balancing act to watch, because not only do we get all of this, but we also get new and fresh ideas, like new and fresh villains that come up about. Then we also have new and fresh spins to a character like Lonnie, but I won't get into that until I get into the spoiler section in a little bit. Then there's just the scary part of things where you know for a fact is going to hit left, and the show makes you feel like, oh, you want to have that hope of, oh, it's not going to turn left, maybe it'll be different in this universe, maybe it'll go right this time, and you know it's not going to happen. You just feel it coming slowly and slowly and slowly until it happens. But if I had to get into the issues when it involves this show, I would just hands down say it is the animation itself. But I do like what they do with the animation, just to put at least a little bit of a positive spin on it. I will say, like, they still do phenomenal things with it, like the fight scenes or certain scenes that look way better than they should. But then you also have scenes like this and that, or just like the background, and I'm like, oh, this looks pretty bad. It's like it's from Disney, you know? So like you should have like a $1 billion budget. Obviously not gonna have a $1 billion budget, obviously, but like, you know, you should have enough money to be like, okay, it looks a lot better than what it is. But they still do some cool things with it, bare minimum. Also, before moving on, we'll do a quick side note. I do want to talk about how it did have some delays into it, and feeling like it was supposed to be in the MCU, but then they're like, you know what, I think it's better if we don't put it in the MCU. I don't know if they maybe didn't have enough faith in it, or as well as they started to put in more elements since it got delayed to be like, okay, definitely like have a separation, because they have a lot of stuff that is in the MCU, but then they're like, oh no, this is like our own thing type of thing, which is weird. But I am glad it's not. It gets a more higher ceiling. It gets a bigger sandbox to do whatever the fuck you want to do in that sandbox. And because of that, you get some really cool surprises when it comes to this show, and some really nice and entertaining fight scenes in this show because of that. And the final thing I'll definitely say before we get to the spoilers section of the video, I would 100% say every episode feels like it's jam-packed. Things are happening in every episode. There's not an episode where like, oh man, nothing happened, or oh man, this is like kind of boring, or the cases. It's so much shit in each episode that's jam-packed. I'm like, yo, when's the next one? When's the next one? When's the next one? I'm so glad I binged it and waited for it to all come out, because I've been on the edge of my fucking seat going, oh, when is it coming out? But now I'm on a spoiler section sides of things, so if you have not watched it, I highly suggest you go ahead and watch it and then come back to this video and then I guess see my thoughts on it. But here we go. I might as well start this off with the main man himself, Peter Parker. What is it not to like about Peter? Him going through issues that everyone goes through, like kind of on a daily basis, and him just keep always getting punched down, but him always getting back up. But one of the things I really love how they go really deep in this season is just Peter having a father figure in his life. With him only having his Aunt May as one of his parental figures, sometimes it's not enough just having one parent there for a lot of people, and sometimes people don't even realize that in a moment of time or even until now. But with Peter so kind of searching for a father figure and finding it in Norman Osborn, it becomes, at first you think it's a really good thing, and it becomes a horrific thing with horrible lessons being told, with what it feels like Norman just imprinting himself onto Peter instead of Peter being his own person. But going back to Peter, because I feel like I'm already sidetracking back into Norman, but going back to Peter, I also love how he knows and he can feel it when something's wrong. He can take the opportunity and enjoy it, just like how he enjoyed it when he enjoyed the paychecks he was getting to help out his aunt with the bills, or when he was getting a new opportunity at this new internship. But he feels and knows when it's wrong. Like, for example, when he gets these new suits, he's like, this doesn't feel right, this isn't me, what am I like kind of doing at this point? Just like your average Joe, it may take them a little bit of time, but they know what's right and they're gonna course correct it. With Peter, by the end of things, I love how he has the understanding of, I can do this. I don't need a corporation like Osborn and his teachings as well as all of his viewpoints to validate myself. I have all that I need here. I have Harry, I have my aunt, I have Nico, all these people that have lifted me up and supported me for who I am and not transforming me into someone else or someone that they would want me to be. I am myself. With him getting rewarded for being himself multiple times, like for the time that he saved, I believe this person is gonna turn into the Rhino.
Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way.
But it was a person that was in a jail cell and it was getting breaking out. He risked his life to save this person because it was getting used as bait. And when he saved them, he still said, hey, I'm gonna kill you, but we're even, and in turn saving both of their lives. Or something more simplistic like him getting closer with this girl called Pearl that he really likes and even babysitted him when he was younger, and having just a regular conversation instead of being someone that he isn't, made her look at him and say his actual name instead of calling him Petey, calling him Peter, showing that she looks at him in a different light and gives him a whole bunch of respect. And the last one I want to talk about on a more minor scale is with Harry. When he has these conversations with Harry and becomes a genuine friend to Harry, something he hasn't had himself in a very long time, it makes Harry want to help Peter or Spider-Man even more. It makes him feel like, oh, we're actually friends, we're best friends, we can do this and that. And he even helps Peter make his own suit, the suit that he wanted to make in his notebook that never got created. He helps him make that and wants to build a company with Peter just to help Peter out. Peter's kindness does not go unrewarded ever, and the show makes that abundantly clear. Sorry, I also want to do another quick side note before I get into more characters that I want to kind of express and talk about. Is one of the things I do want to talk about is how I love how this show is so different but also so similar to either the older incarnations of Spider-Man or even just the comic book itself, but being itself and moving forward with itself, having some similarities but doing nuance and new things and having good writing with it. I feel like that's the most important thing. As long as the writing is good, you can basically go anywhere in any direction most of the time.
Can't escape me! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth!
And me just thinking about it just reminded me of two separate occasions, right? One is something I've been watching for a while now, which is the older TMNTs when I was watching as a kid, either the 2008 one or even the 2004 one, I believe. And just seeing like they're all completely different from one another, even from the comic book, even from all the incarnations, but they're still lovable and they still do their own thing, with not one being similar to the other. Then there's also Joker, the movie Joker, where that's not the Joker whatsoever, but the writing is so good it doesn't matter. We still enjoy that movie anyway. But going on to talk about one of the next characters I want to talk about, which I hinted at earlier, which is Norman Osborn. No matter what universe it is, regardless if it's Norman Osborn, bad personality, or maybe it's a serum that enhances his personality or what it was, or maybe he was always a bad person from the start, it's Norman Osborn. Like, it feels like Norman Osborn in this show, hands down. He's the man that only wants to do his goals and his ambition, and everything else is secondary. Regardless if it's talking about his own son, who he always backlines, or someone else like Spider-Man, who makes it feel like, oh, he's my son, or he's someone that I wish was my son. And in this show, it feels like he's playing chess. He knows when to show out his personality and who he truly is with his colors.
Here, I found your warehouse. I tipped off Secretary Ross, and as of 2 hours ago, I finalized a deal with him to study every invention and schematic that was seized from a pitiful hovel you call a lab.
And it feels like he also is sometimes blending the line a little bit, where it feels like he might be trying to do a good intention, a small tiny bit, but just from all his other actions, it doesn't feel like that. From him semi taking over Spider-Man in the sense of giving him all these opportunities, but in the same breath making him feel like he has to do these certain things, like, oh, you should put on a different suit, you shouldn't really do what you want to do, or hey, you should actually have these core values. With great responsibility comes great respect. And that was hilarious as a scene. That was so funny. I was actually crying laughing when I heard it, but I was like, man, he's truly a piece of garbage. Feeling like one of those parents that want you to do what they do or be how they are, instead of you having your own mold and being your own person. Then there's also just all the manipulation where it came to Peter, of him getting some more tech that came from Otto Octavius and getting it all and putting it into Osborn Company and just having it, and then going up into Octavius's face and be like, hey, I put you in this jail cell, hey, I have all of your tech, and guess what, you're sitting in prison, ha click. Like, what? What the fuck is wrong with this man? His arrogance, his hubris, his ego, his manipulation shows no bounds. Where his line shouldn't be, with great responsibility comes great respect. It should be, with great responsibility comes great manipulation. But the next character I really want to get into is someone that has had a very big pivotal point this whole season, is Lincoln, aka Tombstone, the man that turns into Tombstone. They did this masterfully well. They did a really good job showing you his lifestyle and what he's doing on a day-to-day, and how he just has a disgustingly awful downfall for a person to go through. To get a complete understanding of Lincoln, or Tombstone at this point of time, is he's a kid that is already living in a very shitty neighborhood. I can even tell you it's shitty because I've been to this location before. Don't ask me why. 125th Street, it looks like it's Lexington. My god, is it Zombieland? But I won't get into that. We won't even talk about that. Anyways, he lives in a really bad neighborhood and he has all these sort of responsibilities like weighing over his head, of one, kind of getting out of the hood, and as well as two, being the best at everything he possibly can. Like, for example, when he talks to Peter and he gets really excited about doing something that has something involvement of science. He's like, oh my goodness, I love science, you love science, let's continue doing this, we're gonna do a really good job. As well as other things like, one, making sure his parents and see and know that, oh, I'm a star player, I am one of the best people that is on the team, I'm gonna have people looking at me. Then there's also the fact that he doesn't want to disappoint his parents in any way, shape, or form, as well as take care of his little brother. All these responsibilities are weighing on over his head, and sometimes that can be too much for people. People can't handle all of these things or responsibilities that are over their head all the time. Sometimes people hit a fucking breaking point and they go to a point where they don't want to go back to that. They want to go into a different direction or a different outcome because they just can't handle it anymore. It's too much. Not saying at all what he then does, which is join a gang, is the right decision to do, but what I am saying is I can understand how you don't want to go into that mindset of all these responsibilities bearing upon you anymore. But even so, he still joins a gang just to protect his little brother that joined the gang first, and he wants him to get out of that, because why the fuck would you join a gang at the age of like 12? Like, yeah, get the fuck out of here. I will take care of everything. Just, you can have me, just let my little brother go. And when he joins the gang, he gets like the worst case of Stockholm syndrome I've ever seen in my life. He then kind of starts to enjoy being in this gang and sort of thinks of them as his friends or his brothers, of like, yo, I want to protect you guys, this is my gang now. And it's like, why would you do this? Like, he was so close to like getting out, he was so close to like getting to a university and making it in life, and it just all comes kind of crashing down. And you can see the certain sides of Lincoln that doesn't want to do something too horrific or bad, but there are some times where he's kind of getting borderline pushed into that direction, and it's getting worse. He's doing good things, but it's slowly getting tainted as we see moving forward. Oh yeah, my bad, future tnjugo here. One more thing I wanted to say was something that's like a side note that was just sitting in my head, is the funniest part is that this guy that like tricked him into being into this gang, as soon as shit gets real and it gets real enough to the point where like superheroes are like a part of the gang culture of like, oh my god, someone actually has superpowers, and he can't West Side Story his ass through the fights, like fighting with only his fist or a knife. He's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here, this is some nonsense, and leaves. And there's always that little bit of piece of me that is hoping that they do the right decision, but from what it seems like, he's going to be part of this gang and he's going to be the leader, as well as he's going to move forward as Tombstone going forward, which is extremely sad to say. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye!